Welcome back to another episode of Everyday Wine Pairing. Today we're doing something a little bit unusual. We're making homemade biscuits and gravy with bacon and pairing that with a sparkling red wine from Australia. Now if that sounds strange, you're not alone. Most people think brunch calls for mimosas or coffee. Today we're finding out if a sparkling Shiraz can handle one of the richest comfort foods out there. So let's get started. First things first, the wine is going into the fridge. For sparkling reds, I like to aim for around 50 degrees Fahrenheit, cool enough to stay refreshing, but not too cold that you lose all the flavors. Now onto the biscuits. In full disclosure, this is actually my first time ever making homemade biscuits. I'll put the recipe on the screen with both cup and weight measurements. Personally, I prefer weighing my ingredients, fewer dishes, and easier cleanup, and I don't have to dig through everything to find all the measuring cups. I'm going to start by weighing out all my dry ingredients. While doing that, my wife is going to get the bacon started in the oven. A few strips at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 16 minutes will do the trick. Next comes the butter. Make sure it's cold. Cold butter is one of the keys to fluffy and flaky biscuits. Using a pastry cutter, I work the butter into the dry ingredients until everything starts to come together. For the wet ingredients, I'm using whole milk and an egg. After whisking them together, I slowly mix them into the dry ingredients. Once the dough has formed, I switch to using my hands. If the dough feels too sticky, I add a little flour at a time. Once everything comes together, I roll it out. This is actually where I made my mistake. I rolled the dough out too thin. If you're making these at home, try to keep the dough close to an inch for taller biscuits. I also didn't have a biscuit cutter, so a mason jar lid came to the rescue. After cutting the biscuits, place them on a parchment-lined baking sheet and bake them in the oven at 425 degrees for around 12 minutes. Now it's time for a quick wine break. This is the Chook Sparkling Shiraz from Australia. If you've never had a sparkling red wine before, then you're not alone. Australia is famous for this style. It is one of the most unique wines you'll ever come across. Think blackberry, plum, dark cherry, a little baking spice, tannins, all wrapped up with refreshing bubbles. Now let's get back to cooking. Once the biscuits are golden brown, pull them from the oven. Now it's time for gravy. Start by transferring some of the baking grease into a pan over low to medium heat, and we're going to start with our roux. I like to sift the flour into the grease. This helps prevent clumps and make the gravy much smoother. Mix everything together until a thick paste forms, then slowly add whole milk while whisking. Once the gravy comes together, season with salt and plenty of black pepper. Finally, stir in your chopped bacon bits. And just like that, brunch is served. Now for the moment of truth. The sparkling Shiraz brings dark fruit, spice, and enough acidity to cut through the richness of the gravy. The bubbles help keep everything feeling fresh, while the peppery notes in the wine pair surprisingly well with the black pepper and the smoky bacon. Honestly, this works much better than I was expecting. And if I had to give it a final score, it'd probably be close to a 9 out of 10. It may not be the first wine you think of for brunch, but that's what everyday wine pairing is all about. Trying something new and discovering pairings you never expected to enjoy. If you enjoy this episode, please drop a like, subscribe, and let us know what unusual food and wine pairings we should try next. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.